right. Welcome back, folks. I am Jake Ellenbogen. Today, we are talking about the backup running back spot for the Rams. Before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. You can follow me at JK Boga on social media. You can check out my latest podcast episode, The Jake Ellenbogen Show. Link is in the description. It is an unfiltered podcast, so there's cursing and all that. So obviously be mindful of that. Not suitable for work. But yeah, check it out at your own leisure. Anyway, let's dive into it. So, all right, Kyren Williams. I think the Rams found legitimately the second best running back in the league behind Christian McCaffrey. Okay. So I feel very good about Kyren Williams. Very, very good about Kyren Williams. What I don't feel great about is what comes after Kyren Williams. I really like Ronnie Rivers, but I think Ronnie Rivers is a really good 3. Number 2, I don't know about that. He is an exclusive rights free agent, so the Rams will likely bring him back pretty easily. And I think he's made significant strides, but I do think that he's more of a 3. As far as Zach Evans goes, I've heard he's coachable as heck. That's what I've heard. So we'll see if he gets better in pass pro. He has been utilized in the special teams unit. So I think there's definitely a place for him on this roster if he continues to work his tail off, like I've been told that he's been doing. So with that said, there's only 3 guys on the Rams roster right now for running backs. So what happens here? Well, Royce Freeman, he's a free agent. Of course, Darrell Henderson wasn't retained. They moved on from him right before the end of the season. So because of that, I think both guys are gone. And now they look forward. Is this the draft? Is this the free agency? Well, we're talking about free agency. I won't rule out the draft. We'll be talking about draft prospects that I think make sense throughout the year, throughout the draft season, so to speak. So we'll have those profiles. But for the time being, talking about just free agency, we're going to start off here with J.K. Dobbins, who I find very, very fascinating here. I don't think the Rams have many options at the backup running back spot. And the reason being is because I think a lot of these guys can start, and I think a lot of these guys are going to be more higher priced. I mean, you talk about a Saquon Barkley, a Josh Jacobs, a Tony Pollard. Those aren't really guys that you're going to bring in as a number 2 option, and you're going to pay top dollar, even Derrick Henry. So I like J.K. Dobbins here, and here's why. And this is a list of guys that I like, but we're going to go over it. So J.K. Dobbins, I like because first off, PFF has him 1 year, $2 million. That's his projected contract. He's coming off another season-ending injury, so that obviously is really unfortunate. But he is 25. He's still young. He still has a lot of talent. Wouldn't mind him as a number 2 guy. You like Ronnie Rivers enough to maybe have him as the number 2 and have J.K. As the number 3. I don't mind that. But I think Dobbins is good enough to consider giving this contract and have him earn it in camp. He has 55 pass protection snaps. He hasn't given up a sack. He has allowed 8 pressures. Not great in pass pro, but I think it's something he could definitely get better in and work on. I like him, though, and I think that, while it's been an unfortunate career so far, we know the talent he possesses, and if he's able to stay healthy, and, the Rams have one of the best training staffs in the NFL, maybe we see some J.K. Dobbins action this year. What I can't stress enough is this. Kyren Williams is the number 1 running back. So before you go off on a tangent in the comment section, let me be very clear here. I'm not saying that any of these guys are going to supplant Kyren Williams. I'm saying after seeing Kyren Williams have multiple ankle injuries, after seeing Kyren Williams break his hand in the playoff game, I'd like to know that they have a number 2 guy who could come in, still pass protect at a high level, still come in and run the ball at a high level, move the chains, help in short yardage, help at the goal line. I want to see that. And that's the thing with Ronnie Rivers. There's a little bit of a drop off in pass protection, solid runner, solid receiver, but he's not as great in those short yardage situations. He's going to be somebody that's more of a 3, but I do like him a lot, to be fair. So J.K. Dobbins is a name to look out for. Another name to look out for is Devin Singletary, who PFF has at 3 years, $12.7 million. So that is 4.25 average annual value. This is somebody who they have as the 24th running back graded this year, 18th the previous year, and 34th the year after that, or year before that. His WAR is pretty much 0.1, a little bit better. This year was, he was the number 5 running back. He was, number 10 running back in PFF WAR the year prior, number 11 the prior year. I think Devin Singletary has always been incredibly underrated running back. The Bills didn't really run the ball with him, and that's the funny thing, because going back to the days of Anthony Lynn, you had Tyrod Taylor. This team ran the football a ton. It killed Sammy Watkins stock. It killed Robert Woods stock. It allowed the Rams to get a really good deal on Robert Woods. But when Josh Allen came into the fold, it really killed the run game. Now, it didn't, but it did, because, look, Josh Allen can still run the ball. They still have success, but they don't run the ball as much because they have Josh Allen. So, and that changed a little bit, but after Singletary left. So Singletary goes to the Houston Texans. I think he had 3 games in a row of over 100 yards. Dameon Pierce just fell off a cliff. Do they bring him back? I don't know, but I think Devin Singletary is a really solid backup option here. Now, the one thing I'll say, 340 pass protection reps, 6 sacks allowed, 31 pressures. That's a lot of sacks allowed, but that's 340 pass protection reps. I think this is somebody that, if you're looking for that game-breaking speed, he doesn't have that. He's quite a bit below that. It's funny, they do call him Motor Singletary, but he's not quite that. However, he's very solid all around. I think he's a very solid back, doesn't get enough credit. I like Singletary a lot. Wouldn't mind him, so, he's on this list as well. Coming in, again, these aren't, in order. I'm going to explain where I stand, who I think they should go after all this. But moving on here, PFF has A.J. Dillon, the Green Bay Packers free agent running back, 2 years, $4 million a year. So that would be 2 years, $8 million for his contract. He's going to be 26 next year. Singletary's going to be 27 next year. So he's going to be 26 next year. And look, this is somebody that started off his career very hot, and it's kind of gone downhill a little bit. And, A.J. Dillon, he's built differently, 6'2", 250 pounds, runs a 4.5 flat, kind of a physical freak when you think about it. The Rams don't have that on the roster right now, so that's enticing. Just looking at his ability in pass protection, 156 reps, only 1 sack allowed, and 13 pressures. I think that's pretty darn good. I think you take that. I think Dillon is one of my favorites on this list. Makes a lot of sense because the change of pace element to Kyren Williams. Again, if you're looking for a home run hitter, not sure you're going to get one in free agency. There's not really any sort of home run hitter in free agency, so you might have to look through the draft. But I really like A.J. Dillon nonetheless. He's really hard to bring down, runs through arm tackles like it's nothing. Look at his quads. Next time you see him, his quads are absolutely huge. So it's really hard to bring down a running back that's built all legs like that. He also has a pretty big torso as well. So look, at the end of the day, A.J. Dillon would be a fun bet there. We know he worked with Matt LaFleur's system. I think he would work in a Sean McVay's system there. So that's what I have there. Then moving on, the last but not least on the PFF ranked guys. I have other guys I'll bring up, but PFF only ranked these 4 as guys that aren't necessarily going to start and they're affordable for the Rams. Zach Moss, 199 pass protection reps, 3 sacks allowed, 14 pressures allowed. Look, I think the 3 sacks are a little bit deceiving. It happened all in one season 2 years ago. Zach Moss has been a model of consistency in pass pro, and he was great this year running the football. So look, I'll say this right now. I think Zach Moss to LA, we need to get that train rolling. I think if you could get Moss backing up Kyren Williams, you could have a game where Kyren Williams is going for 20 plus touches and Zach Moss comes in and has 15. He's that good. I think what we saw with Zach Moss in Jonathan Taylor's absence is a big reason why we saw the Colts take the step they took this year, despite Anthony Richardson going down with an injury. So I'm a big fan of Zach Moss. I'm an even bigger fan of the price that PFF is saying it would cost. I think PFF's way too low on him, but they have 2 years, $7.5 million. That's 3.75 average annual. A.J. Dillon might be, the guy that I think a lot of people will go towards, bigger name and everything. And I like him a lot. And I like Singletary, but the cheapest of those 4, Dobbins, however, he's coming off an injury. The real cheapest of those 4 that you can really kind of rely on, in my opinion, is Zach Moss. So, I don't know if it was a contract year or whatever, why Zach Moss had such a good year this year when called upon, but I like the fit. I see the fit. He's 26 years old. Sign him to a 2-year, $8 million deal. I'll give him $4 million a year to back up. I mean, and keep in mind, he's not just being a backup. He would have a legit role on this Rams team, be the third down back, be the short yardage back, be the goal line back if you need one. I mean, Kyren's so good at the goal line. I like Moss a lot. And I think behind an offensive line that the Rams had last year or even better this year, we'll see what ends up happening. To me, it's a no-brainer. So I'd probably go Moss 1, Dillon 2, Singletary 3, Dobbins 4. Dobbins' price tag is really nice. He might get more, but 1 year, $2 million, that's nice. However, the injuries, it's concerning. If you have a backup who's a backup because you're trying to alleviate the pressure on your starting running back, and that backup gets hurt, then what happens when another backup like Ronnie Rivers, who's had injury issues in his career now, what's going to happen there? So I think that's something you have to keep in mind. Zach Moss also has some injury concerns. A.J. Dillon's missed some time, but J.K. Dobbins has serious injury concerns and may never return to the form that he was coming into the NFL. And again, he hasn't really had much to go off of. I mean, he's played 2 seasons, and in those 2 seasons, he's played 265 snaps total because of the injuries. So this poor guy hasn't been able to get anything going. So you could have a legit star, in the midst here if he can come back from these injuries. But, if doesn't really count towards anything. So, okay, let's go forward here. Antonio Gibson, former 1,000-yard rusher for the Commanders. You're talking about 158 pass protection snaps, 4 sacks, 16 pressures allowed. I think he's pretty darn solid in pass pro. I think the stats are a little inflated because this year was so bad. The offensive line was terrible, and I don't care how good in pass protection you are. When the offensive line is as bad as it is, you are still put in harm's way. So a running back can only do so much. You're still going to get hit with a pressure. You're still going to get hit with a sack. That's just the way it is, and I don't think PFF always does a great job with that either. So I look at Antonio Gibson, former wide receiver from Memphis, turned running back. You see his ability in the receiving game. It's natural. He's a former receiver in his own right, can run routes, can line up on the outside, can come out of the backfield, leak out, whatever. You could do, dual backfield with him and Kyren. He's built so, he can take on hits, he can break tackles, he can make guys miss, but he can also punch it in the end zone, punch it in on short yardage. Antonio Gibson's a guy I really like in this one as well. I'd probably put him right up there with Zach Moss and A.J. Dillon, so keep an eye on Antonio Gibson. Another one here is Gus Edwards. Edwards had 150 pass protection reps in his career, 1 sack given up, and 13 pressures allowed. I think Edwards is an underrated pass protector, and I don't know why they didn't use him a lot with the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. He was their best running back when Keaton Mitchell went down, and this is somebody that they call him Gus the Bus for a reason. He's hard to bring down. He's great at the short yardage, moving the chains, goal line situations. Gus is really good. I would definitely consider that. I do have concerns about the injuries, of course, but he stayed relatively healthy this year, so that'd be an option. Another one here is Ezekiel Elliott, who has 536 pass protection reps in his career. He's given up 7 sacks and 59 pressures. That's really darn good when you consider how many pass protection snaps he's had. The problem with Zeke Elliott is he's starting to kind of go downhill, and you saw that this year in New England. Wasn't a bad year to be a backup for him because obviously you have Ramondre Stevenson, but the problem here is that Ezekiel Elliott went downhill as far as a pass protector. He wasn't as good this year. So was that a one-year wonder type deal? Does he end up being better next year? Who knows? But that's an interesting name. Josh Kelly's another interesting name because first off, he played his college ball at UCLA. That always gets attention. 159 pass protection reps, 3 sacks given up, and 21 pressures. I think there are moments where you saw some brilliance in Josh Kelly. Are they going to sign him? I don't know, but I think he's worth mentioning. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you kind of forgot about him. I mean, he started off his rookie season, I think it was the first game of the year. He had over 100 yards, maybe 126, I think. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was great. I remember that. And then he kind of fell off. Injuries kind of robbed him. He's not quite in the football shape he was when he first came in the league. 77 pass protection reps, never given up a sack, 8 pressures allowed. We don't really know what he is in pass protection, but what we do know is that he has talent. He was drafted in the first round for a reason. He's still young. Do they bring in somebody like that? I don't know. Next up, you have Damian Harris. Now, this is an intriguing one. 97 pass protection reps. You have 1 sack, 6 pressures allowed. Damian Harris he's coming from Buffalo. He was on the Patriots. He had a bunch of pretty solid years there, and he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but this is still a short yardage guy, power. I like Damian Harris a lot. I don't know if the injuries got to him and maybe that's why he's not what he was, but you could probably get cheap deals for all these guys that I'm mentioning. D'Ernest Johnson is incredibly intriguing because this is a 91 pass protection, guy, 1 sack, 5 pressures allowed. I watched him in Jacksonville and they really trusted him in pass protection on third downs, but they also trusted him as a receiver out of the backfield. This is a guy that came in the NFL running a 4.81. He worked his tail off. He's now a fast running back. This could give you some of that explosion that you're looking for, that next level speed. Could be an interesting one here and would be kind of similar. I've said this on another show, but it could be kind of similar to when the Rams tried to bring in Lance Dunbar. It didn't really work how they wanted it to, but they wanted to get that kind of explosive change of pace running back. I think D'Ernest Johnson would do that for you. And last but not least, you got Kareem Hunt, 242 pass protection reps, 5 sacks, 19 pressures allowed. To be honest with you, I don't think Hunt is great in pass pro, but I don't think he's bad either. This is a team that'll have $128 million in cap space in 2025. It gives them a position to restructure the contracts this year. They currently have $35 million according to Spotrac. And again, their running backs are as followed: Kyren Williams and Zach Evans, because Ronnie Rivers is an exclusive free agent. He's probably going to be brought back, but still, you have 2 guys currently on your roster. The Rams definitely should consider the free agency window. And in my mind, I think the best option is Zach Moss coming from the Indianapolis Colts, signing a 2-year, $8 million deal, $4 million, a little bit over what they're projecting, 0.25 over what they're projecting. I like him. I like Antonio Gibson. I like Gus Edwards. I like D'Ernest Johnson. I like A.J. Dillon, and I like Devin Singletary and J.K. Dobbins, as if you want to take just a little bit of a dive, you want to kick the tires on a guy that might have a ton of potential if he can get back to where he was, pre-injury. So, look, I think the Rams had their pick of the litter here. I think that, there might not be a ton of guys, in a sense. It's not like it's the biggest class ever, but I think just what they need because of what Kyren Williams brings to the table right now. Zach Evans, he's a smaller back. Ronnie Rivers, smaller back. Kyren Williams, smaller back. So going out and getting an A.J. Dillon adds some beef to that running back room. Going out and getting Zach Moss adds some beef to the running back room. Antonio Gibson, Gus Edwards, Ezekiel Elliott, those guys, Damian Harris, add beef to the running back room, which is what I think they need right now. But I'm curious, let me know in the comment section below, who do you want the Rams to add to be their backup running back? I'm very curious. Let me know in the comment section below. I am Jake Ellenbogen. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And be sure to check out on social media at JK Bogan. You can also check out my unfiltered podcast. Link is in the description. That's all that I have for you guys. So again, I like Zach Moss. I want to get this train rolling, get Zach Moss to LA. I didn't love him coming out of Utah. Not like other people. I didn't think he was a bad prospect. But man, watching him this year with the Colts, that guy has talent. And that guy can really help out the Rams and spell Kyren Williams and make his load a little bit lighter, because this past year, the way he was used, that's not sustainable. So those are my thoughts. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.
Start playing Pick'em or Weekly Fantasy for any sport today, Jake. Users will receive a 100% deposit match up to $100 if they use promo code OTE at sign up. Start playing Pick'em and Weekly Fantasy Football today with Underdog Fantasy.
Do you love talking about the Rams, the NFL, or just want to be a part of a community? Join my free Discord server today. We're over 800 members. We got 24/7 live chat, a level 3 boosted server, the ability to call into JE Live, playing online games with us on Kick streams, toggleable alerts for when I go live on YouTube or Kick so you don't miss a live stream, and exclusive giveaways. Click the link in the description, the comments section, or the link that comes up in the video to learn more and join today.